Make a Path presents Let's Talk.
Alright, Deadheads, I will be dipping into the comic book as kind of like a little bit of a guide. So for anyone who doesn't want any comic book spoilers, I'm going to go ahead and pop a spoiler warning on the screen. You can skip past that or just mute it. There will be one instance where I might be talking for a good solid 2 minutes about something from the comic book, but I think it plays an important part in predicting what's coming up. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's talk The Walking Dead predictions for 5/11. Alright, Deadheads, I want to jump right through these predictions. Now, to keep it interesting and lively, I actually only watched the one trailer, and I only watched it twice. I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to dip in as a guide to the comic book here. Before we get into the comic book, I want to do just a real quick rundown in case somebody's just not interested in the rest of the video. They could just bounce. First thing, I believe... Oh, and I'm sorry. I also did watch the Distance, the sneak peek that AMC gave us on their YouTube channel. From that sneak peek, it did seem like the new character, Aaron, was tied up and on the ground. In the trailer previously, we saw Daryl Frickson... In the preview, we saw Daryl frisking him standing up. And his dialogue when he was speaking in the sneak peek, it sounded like he was shaken. It actually sounded really, really convincing. So what I'm piecing together it from that and the image that I said before, where holy crap, where Rick was walking up, you have Maggie on the side, and remember I said it looked like Rick was walking towards Aaron, possibly, and that was my prediction for the past episode. Well, it looks like we're going to get that in this episode, and I think that he walks up to him and he does punch him in the face. Then they tie him up, and I don't know if he comes to right away or they search his bag and then he comes to, but when he comes to, he does sound a little shaken. From there, obviously, most likely, Rick is going to look at the area, look out the windows. We hear Glenn saying there's lots of places to hide. Right off the bat, I'm going to say there's no wolves or scavengers in this episode. No wolves meaning the scavengers, meaning there's no bad guys. And I know Rick said they're coming for us, but I think that's AMC hyping the trailer. And I think Rick is going to say that after he knocks out Aaron. And I don't think it's going to be anything monumental in the thing, like a showdown with any bad guy group. So, they check the surrounding area outside, and then maybe a little group of them with Abraham, I forget who else was there, Michonne, the Greatham team, but one member was missing, I think Tara. They go out trying to look at the surrounding areas because it just stormed, and Aaron is clean. I mean, he's not even wet or nothing. So they know he had to have had shelter somewhere close. So they go looking, and it's very possible that we find a new character named Eric, who is also a scout along with Aaron from the Alexandria safe zone. From there, I believe that they might head towards the Alexandria safe zone, and then they see a flare, and Rick, Michonne, and Glenn go off to see what the deal is with the flare. Again, we're going to go into bigger detail with this, but why I say this is really awesome, a little side note, is because Glenn was just previously saying in episode 9 that he's feeling hardened and about the Terminus thing, letting a guy out of the can. Glenn was like, man, if it was today, I wouldn't have let him out of the can. I think that they're going to save somebody, and that's why Glenn is driving. And Rick is telling him it's crazy, and Rick is also saying this is a trap. And we're going to go into detail, unfortunately, with the comic book thing, because I feel like it has to do with them twisting material from the comic book into a fresh new story. You know what I mean? So we're going to go over that in a second, but for those who don't want any comic book spoilers, I'm laying it down real quick for you now. From that point on, I am just going to say, you know what? I think that the group is going to run into a bigger group of people from Alexandria. And it is very possible that we do actually get into Alexandria. If we don't get into Alexandria in this episode, we're definitely seeing the walls. We're definitely getting to Alexandria, I believe anyway. At least the gates, if not inside. But I don't think we're going to get much farther into Alexandria, because I think that will be the cutoff point. And then we're going to get a cliffhanger, you know? Now, to dip into some of the comic book stuff. Here we go. First thing first, I'm sure you guys already heard by now that Rick and Abraham were the ones that were approached by Aaron in the comic book, and it was nighttime, not daytime. Then later on, they see a flare from somebody from Aaron's group, and it is at daytime. I believe in the TV show they're going to flip that around. We see Aaron in the daytime, and at nighttime is when we're going to get the flare. Makes sense. You can see it easier. And that's kind of how they twisted that around. Yeah, I feel like I'm jumping everywhere with this, but we're just going to rock on, man. All right, one other thing. In the comic book, I'm really hoping we get it. There's only a few things that I want directly adapted, only because I love it so much. And one is when Aaron first walks up to Abraham and Rick. Rick punches Aaron in the face, knocks him out cold. That's where I got the other prediction from. Abraham looks to Rick and he says, yo, just to be clear, that was not a let's attack this guy look. That was, yo, I think this guy is okay. That's what look that was. And then Rick tells Abraham, well, listen, the people I've met along my way have been dangerous. We met a guy named the Governor, and he was all smiles. And he chopped my hand off, and he was a bastard. But we did not get that introduction to the Governor in the TV show. So what do good writers do? Because they know this is coming up. Brilliance of Terminus. Yep, I already did a video of that, and that is why I believe you guys should go check it out if you haven't checked it out. They introduced Terminus in the story because I believe they took the introduction of the Governor meeting Rick and Michonne and Glenn first out of the TV show. And that is why the group, that and the Hunters, it was a small role. And I believe that they just added to the Hunter story for the TV show because they took the introduction of the Governor out. You know what I mean? What happens after that is we get an attack. Almost immediately. Here's Aaron, it's at nighttime, and then a herd attacks us, some walkers. And this is why I'm hoping we got disappointed with the Walker Storm. And I'm really getting my hopes up here, and I wish I didn't, but I'm really getting my hopes up that the reason that they didn't lure the walkers away or do anything as far as kill all of the walkers, and it was just a storm rolling through, is I'm really hoping that in the TV show now, they get Aaron inside, they question him, and they twist something around from the comic book. I'm hoping that a lot of those walkers that were thrown around by the tornado or the storm or whatever it was, a lot of them start getting up, making their way to the group, and they get overrun and they have to fight. If they do that, we can incorporate, I'm hoping, another scene that I absolutely loved. And there's a lot of Glenn scenes around this time that I freaking love. It's comical, it's lighthearted, it's funny. In the comic, when the zombies come, they're all shooting the zombies, and Rick turns around, and Aaron has this big-ass assault rifle. Rick is like, Glenn, did you give him that gun? And Glenn is like, yeah, you know, I didn't think about it. I just, here, help, you know, because we were under attack. And he's like, I'm sorry, Rick. And Rick was like, but did you have to give him that gun? Because keep in mind, this gun, all he has to do is move a couple inches, and he can mow everyone down. Rick already punched him in the face. They already tied him up. You know what I'm saying? So, but Aaron in the comic, he just gives the gun back. He's like, listen, I want you guys to trust me. So that helped a lot. I'm hoping we get something like that on the show. Also, in the comic, Carl has a badass moment. Pulls out a little pistol, blam, 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 saves the day. Anyway, so they sleep it off, and now it's daytime in the comic book. And Andrea, comic Andrea, she just lost Dale in the comic timeline. But on the TV show, it's starting to look like Sasha, especially after how she mowed down the dogs, is becoming the sniper of the group, much like comic Andrea. And then look at the resemblance there. She's mourning Bob and Tyrese, and Tyrese was the gut punch, you know. In the comic, we meet Eric. And in the show, we most likely meet Eric too, at least I'm hoping. I did not think we were going to meet Heath at first, and I still don't. Something tells me I don't think we're going to meet Heath per se. He might be called Heath, but I think it's going to be something with a twist, you know? So in the comic, it was daytime. They get to DC, and they see the flare. Rick, Abraham, and Aaron, I believe, are the three that goes to the flare to save the day. Here is where I think with the TV show, based off of that from the comic and twisting it around. I'm predicting it's going to happen at nighttime, and I'm predicting that they see the flare, but Rick still doesn't trust Aaron. It might mean that they didn't even meet Eric yet. That's very possible. And I believe that Rick keeps Aaron, maybe even Eric too at this time, back with the survivors. And they go to whoever shot the flare because they want to, maybe Rick just wants to be there himself and see it and see if Aaron is telling the truth. Or maybe Glenn is also urging Rick because they said that keep an eye on Glenn, he's going to step up into a leadership role a little bit here. Maybe Glenn does want to, yo, Rick, we need to go out and help those people. And again, like I was saying, how Glenn thought he was hardening up. Maybe this is him fighting off that. So Rick, Glenn, and Michonne go out to see who shot up the flare. And I'm thinking that at this time, we did see that Rick looked like he was in a cornfield with a flare or maybe the brake light of a car. I'm guessing that Glenn mows down some walkers. I might have said this before, but I'm going to repeat myself because I forget. But Rick tells him this is crazy and this is a trap. I'm thinking that Rick thinks the flare is the trap, okay? And Aaron was supposed to lure them in there. And that's what Rick's going for in his head. But Glenn is thinking about saving people. So Glenn goes ahead and barrels through the walkers. They somehow get into a cornfield, whatever that is. And I'm thinking that right when Glenn is going to get bit, maybe the people from the comic, the security or construction crew, come in and save the day or help Rick, Michonne, and Glenn. And that earns Rick's trust to allow them to make it the rest of the way to Alexandria. As far as getting into Alexandria, it seems like a lot to pack into one episode. I'm thinking we're only going to see the entrance of Alexandria and maybe possibly just get inside it, have a pan around, maybe even a sky shot, and then that's going to be the cliffhanger. Well, I think that's all I got. So, your predictions down in the comments section, because I'm done talking, it's your turn.
Subscribe now.